Gorman, and Gary Haylock gave it the treatment. 10 minutes later came the second. Good work from Campbell and a fluid build-up involving Peebles and Haylock. Desi the Hawk swooping for the finish. A penalty was awarded after Gorman was chopped in the box by Kennedy, but Haylock was unable to see his way past keeper Dave Collins. The Whites had their turn after Dornan brought down Tom McClellan, but again the keeper hard to beat, Wes Lamont pulling off two superb saves. Distillery crept back with a goal 5 minutes to the break, Clellan's pinpoint cross and Mitchell with the point-blank finish. Early in the second half, Gorman snatched his second of the night to stretch Linfield's lead even further. But finished on a sour note with this nasty off-the-ball incident. Paul Traynor quite rightly sent off for stamping on Haylock's head. 3-1 the final score. They looked sickly at sorts at the weekend after their foray into Europe. At home to Ballyclare, they eventually opened up the scoring, Haylock grabbing his 10th of the season. But comrades deserve credit for a spirited performance, and no one more so than their new signing, Paul Hall. One look up, and thank you very much. Gary Peebles was welcomed back onto the park in the second half, and a smart substitution it was. The hot Scot lodging a careful reminder of what he's got to offer.
Take the lead, Stephen Brown. Well, here's what Wes Lamont saw. It was Pat Fenlon, the ball rebounded off the line. Wes Lamont got a foot to it, but the Seasiders surge in front. Dornan tussling for that. Easton manages to whip the cross in to Campbell. Here's a chance for Haylock. Good save, but it's in. Linfield equalise. Haylock with the shot. Good save from Curry. Campbell came in to finish it, and I think it was probably an own goal in the end. No doubt that Campbell will claim that, though. Haylock turned well. Curry did well to smother it. Only parried it to Campbell, and Melly helped it on its way. That's under pressure. Well, I think that's a penalty to Bangor. Noel Bailey tried to flick it backwards. It didn't work. Oh, and a high foot by Wes Lamont. Indeed, a penalty. Well, it's Mark Kenny who has been appointed to take the penalty for Bangor. This to give the Seasiders the lead. And he does so superbly.
The affair was of much higher quality, with Linfield grabbing the initiative against Portadown in the 11th minute. The busy Campbell found Peebles, Haylock turned neatly and scored with a deft left-foot shot. After the break, the Ports came out battling, and none more fiercely than Neil Candlish, who hustled himself into a useful position on the right, then crossed superbly for Brian Strain to loop in the equaliser. Immediately the Blues roared back, Desi Gorman's screamer just flashing over. Then in 70 minutes, a moment of Raymond Campbell magic. He swept past Climo and from 22 yards crashed in a spectacular left-foot shot. Portadown definitely in the soup now. But the Ports took the tie into extra time with 2 minutes left. Fraser's speculative pass, Neil Candlish with an imaginative finish. No goals in extra time, so on to that dreaded penalty shootout. The Blues somehow contrived to miss their first two spot kicks, but Fenlon made it 3-all after 5 efforts from each side. Portadown's Peter Murray began the sudden death stage and agonisingly saw Alan Patterson push his shot onto a post. That meant everything rested on Campbell, the star of the show, and he made no mistake, sending the Blues on to a semi-final date with Crusaders.
Blues clash, and indeed the goals were of the calibre for any connoisseur. First after Callaghan brought down Nell just outside the area. Raymond Campbell, who passed a late fitness test, the man on the ball, and didn't he do well. A belting right foot shot, Kevin McKeown had no hope. But all credit to Crusaders, they knuckled down with the kind of determination that has become their trademark. And after 16 minutes, this tackle by Bailey won Stevie Baxter a penalty. The big man who played so well in their weekend win over Omagh getting his just rewards, fittingly over his former team. From then on they had the upper hand, courtesy of an industrious midfield from which came the winner. Gary McCartney and Sid Burrows combining well. Setting up Baxter, who just connected with the post. But McCartney provided the support and drilled the ball home from 15 yards. The right footer, something of a rarity for the 34-year-old, but securing him his first goal of the season and Man of the Match award. Managed to call a halt to their steady decline in form, a penalty after 17 minutes giving them just the chance they needed. And Gary Haylock marked the Blues' rejuvenation from the spot. However, a repeat of his hat-trick 3 weeks ago did not look likely. In fact, Omagh could have equalised when Wes Lamont brought down Thomas Mohan. But he redeemed himself with a super save from Kavanagh.
Stephen Beattie trying to keep the pressure on. 1-0 to Linfield. Desi Gorman with the header. So let's see if Stephen Beattie can produce another accurate cross. He does. And it's 2. Gary Peebles celebrates with the shirt over the head. Campbell to Gorman. Straight back to Raymond Campbell, who has another chance to Beattie this time. And it's 3. Free kick taken quickly by Lee Docherty. Straight to Easton. Here's Gorman, who's onside. Haylock's free. Gary Haylock.
I would doubt very much whether he ever was 100% leaving the club. I know that after the performance on Tuesday night, a poor performance like that, the manager always has to ask questions of himself. But hopefully today we showed him that we can still do the job.
We got together and decided we're going to go hell or bust on Saturday.
Versus Reds at Windsor Park, and Linfield were 1-0 up after 23 minutes. Stephen Beattie crossed for Gary Peebles to head home. And Beattie launched a long, hopeful ball forward for Gary Haylock 3 minutes later. He avoided Joe Kerr and laid the ball back for Desi Gorman. Cliftonville's goal was scored by Pat McAllister before half-time, but the Blues hung on in the second half. Recovery after his life-threatening injury. And Carrick took the lead after about 4 minutes. The ball fell nicely onto the left foot of Brian Robson. Gary Haylock almost squared it for the Blues, but his shot rattled off the bar. Just 5 minutes later, Desi Gorman switched play to John Easton. The fullback's cross was nodded down by Peebles, and fancy footwork by Haylock squared up the game. Nearing full time, Haylock had penalty claims dismissed when he seemed to be brought down by Miskelly. 1-1 it stayed. Carrick celebrated. Deadlock at Windsor Park, where Linfield drew blank with Distillery. Gary Peebles had the best 2 chances for the Blues in the first half. Philip Dykes almost scored for Distillery in the second half. His header cleared off the line. Desi Gorman also had a chance to secure the winner, but 0-0 it stayed. The Blues displeased, the Whites happy enough.
Battled on